practices that you. All right, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Data Privacy and the Law. My name is Eitayo Ogunyemi and I'm a co-anchor for this program and together with Adedamola, of course, who is my colleague. Welcome to another edition, and it's a privilege to have this conversation with you. I recall that I had mentioned that we are going to have a conversation around safeguarding of data. And remember, just in case you didn't join that session, I had a conversation beginning with sensitive personal data, and then we went on to addressing sensitive personal data use, especially by not-for-profit organizations, which includes churches, mosques, associations, organizations that could be for educational purpose, scientific, promoting culture, ethnicity, and a whole lot. And in making that conversation practical enough, I recall that I also gave examples. So just in case you are yet to view that session, I need you to just browse through this channel and then look for that conversation. It's something that is enriching, which you would find very, very helpful. And remember to subscribe. Subscribe to this channel as well, and then share with your friends. I'm sure that they will find all this conversation enlightening and interesting. So today we want to talk about 5 strong best standard practices. 5 standard practices that you can adopt as a business entity or even as a not-for-profit. These 5 things I want to share with you, these 5 strategies I want to give you, they would work for you whether you are a profitable entity, doing business for profit, or you are into a charitable object or doing what you are doing for charitable purposes. It would even work for you, or better still, they would even also work for you, irrespective of the extent that you have gone in business. So whether you are already at that level of big business, whether you are still a one-man show or a one-person show, pardon me, it will work for you whether you have gone public or whether you are still running your thing on a private note. Whichever side of the curve you belong to, I want to assure you that the things I would be sharing with you in this conversation would be of immense help to that which you are growing. So are you set for this? Okay, so just by way of reminding you again, remember to like and subscribe to our page. It's a little thing you can do to show that you appreciate the points that we usually would come back to share with you here. So remember to like and subscribe to our page. Okay, so number 1 on the list, I'm going to 5. Number 1 on the list is what is called access control. Access control. Let me start again by doing a recap that when we talk about sensitive personal data, these are highly sensitive information that once it leaks out, it can be a basis for discriminating against the data subject, meaning the owner of that information or the person by which, the person whose information is the subject matter. So because of the risk associated with this, one of those things you can always ensure to do is to make sure that you have a policy around access control. In essence, if somebody that works with you does not need that information, that person does not need to have an access to that information. In essence, if even you know that by virtue of your position you don't need access to that information, then it is fair enough to only allow the people that need access to it to use the information. So it's always crucial that you regulate access to the information. So access control is very crucial. It's the number 1 thing that you should think of, that should come to your mind when you are looking at safeguarding people's data that is in your hand. And then the other thing you need to learn is what I would simply call the need to have strong passwords. the need to have strong passwords. In essence, where you consider an information sensitive, where you see that you are dealing with the data of people in your custody, whether sensitive or not, in as much as they are information by which people can be identifiable, by which it's possible that people can also be discriminated against, then it matters that you should have some passwording to the information. So in essence, people do not, it's not just about who can access by virtue of where the information is. It's also about the protocols to accessing. So there has to be some password policy that you build up as an entity. And just in case you need to then have a documentation, a security or data use document, please also feel free to engage with us for us to hold you by the hands and guide you on how to put all of these things in place, because you need to write them out and then make them policy for that business, for that company, for that entity that you operate. Very, very crucial. There has to be password policy, whether it is password to the folder, whether even if it's data that is held physically, there has to be a password to the vault, to the safe, or as the case may be. There has to be some password before you can access sensitive information that relates to other people. And then the next thing I'll talk about is what is called physical security. Of course, I have hinted earlier on when I said if you are keeping physically in a vault or in a safe or something. So where this kind of information is such that can be accessed physically, then you may want to also put some physical security measures in place to ensure that people do not have unnecessary access to other people's vital information. Very, very crucial as well. So if it's something that is kept on paper, you may want to ask yourself, do you have a special store where you keep this information? Or do you have a vault? Or do you have a file that can be logged in a way that people do not have easy access to it when they have no business with it? These are very crucial things that you may want to look at. And then the next thing I'll talk about is even capacity development. For instance, I'm sure you are listening to me because you are seeking to learn. How many of your staff, how many of your team members are also have the kind of access that you have to learn this kind of thing you are learning from today's conversation? So this is very crucial. It's the more reason it doesn't do you any harm to share this video, that share it with your team members. It's also part of helping them, because you need to sensitize them about the importance of the data, which forms the big part of what you do in your work, about how your compliance for keeping data, people's sensitive information, also even gives you an advantage to attract more people to your business. So sensitizing your team members, don't be shocked. It's just one of those things you can do as well to ensure that you are ahead of the game in putting together a best practices measure that helps you to keep the data of people. And I hope that that really would help you. So ensure to give enlightenment, awareness to your team members. It would help everybody. I think I've done 4 already. So what's my final point here? My final point is really more of it's not a preventive measure. It's a responsive measure, meaning, how do you respond? What happens just in case there is a data breach? I think one of your measures should be how you respond. There has to be prompt response. There has to be prompt response, which was why I mentioned earlier on. If you need to be held by the hand to then create a strong policy around safeguarding data and around response policy and all of those things, please feel free to reach us, and then we can begin to have this conversation. So it's important that you have a policy around what you immediately do where there is a data breach or where you suspect that there is a data breach. You don't have to wait for it to happen or to be confirmed before you put policy in place around this. So it's very, very crucial that you have your policy. Now, depending on the kind of data, depending also on the kind of business that you operate, those are factors among many others that will determine the kind of policy that you also put in place to respond in the event that there is an allegation or there is really a data breach. So I hope that these points, I hope they come handy for you, and I hope they help you. Remember, let the conversation go on. Get into the comment box. Let's know your thoughts. You may also have some other points. We do not claim to know it all, and I just extracted for me what I consider to be 5 very, very important points, and it's among many other points. So let the conversation continue in the comment box. Let's hear from you. What have you done differently, or what are you doing differently to when you share this kind of information? I'm sure it also helps other people that will be coming in touch with this video. So please let the conversation continue, and just in case you have questions, you have our contact details right below, and then you can always feel free to reach us as well. So thank you very much, and I'm sure that will come your way again, same time, same channel. Subscribe, and so that you can be notified when we go live. Do have for yourself a wonderful week. Thank you.